Let me ask you something that might sound completely backwards. What if I told you that saving your first $10,000 is actually 10 times harder than going from $10,000 to $110,000? Not because of some complex financial wizardry, not because rich people have access to secret investment accounts, but because of 3 mathematical realities and 2 psychological barriers that nobody talks about. Most people spend their entire lives stuck at zero, not because they can't earn money, but because they don't understand that wealth building is exponential, not linear. They think that if it takes 2 years to save $10,000, it'll take 20 years to save $100,000. They're dead wrong. I'm Jack, and on this channel, we cut through the financial nonsense and focus on what actually works. If you're someone who's tired of feeling like you're running on a financial treadmill, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button if this video helps you see money differently. Because by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why that first $10,000 is your financial Everest, and why every dollar after that gets progressively easier to accumulate. Here's the brutal truth about saving your first $10,000. You are doing 100% of the work. Let me show you exactly what I mean with real numbers. Let's say you're saving $500 every month and investing it in a simple S&P 500 index fund, which historically averages about 10% annually. In your first year, you'll contribute $6,000 of your own hard-earned money. Your investment returns? About $330. That's it. $330 for an entire year of sacrifice and discipline. You saved $6,000. The market gave you $330. You did 95% of the heavy lifting. Now let's fast forward. Once you hit $50,000 in your investment account, everything changes. At 10% annual returns, your money earns $5,000 that year without you doing anything. If you're still contributing that same $500 monthly, you're adding $6,000, but your investments are now contributing $5,000. You're suddenly only doing 55% of the work. But here's where it gets absolutely insane. When you reach $100,000, your money earns $10,000 annually just from existing. If you're still putting in that $6,000 per year, your money is now doing more work than you are. Your investments contribute $10,000, you contribute $6,000. You're now doing only 37% of the work. This is why Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett's longtime business partner, famously said, "The first $100,000 is a bitch, but you gotta do it." He understood something most people never figure out. Compound interest doesn't become noticeable until you have a critical mass of capital for it to work with. The percentage problem. Here's the second mathematical reality that makes that first $10,000 so brutal. When you have $1,000 invested and the market goes up 10%, you make $100. Nice, but that's barely enough for a decent dinner. When you have $10,000 and the market goes up 10%, you make $1,000. Now we're talking about meaningful money, enough to cover a rent payment or an unexpected car repair. But when you have $100,000 and the market goes up that same 10%, you make $10,000. That's a life-changing amount. For many people, that's equal to months of their take-home pay, and it happened while they slept. Same percentage increase, wildly different outcomes. This is the percentage problem. In the beginning, even great percentage returns feel insignificant because you're working with small absolute numbers. It's psychologically demotivating. You're doing everything right, seeing 10, 15, even 20% returns, and your account barely moves. According to research from Vanguard analyzing over 5 million retirement accounts, accounts under $10,000 have an average abandonment rate of 42% within the first 3 years. Know why? Because people look at their balance, see minimal growth despite their contributions, and think, what's the point? They quit right before compound interest starts working in their favor. The habit formation window. The third mathematical reality is actually biological. Neuroscience research from MIT shows that it takes approximately 66 days of consistent behavior before a new habit becomes automatic. That's about 2 months. But here's the problem. Saving your first $10,000 doesn't take 2 months. For most people saving $500 monthly, it takes 20 months. You need to maintain discipline for 20 months straight, but your brain only starts making that behavior automatic after month 2. That means you're fighting against your own neural pathways for 18 months, every single month. By month 3, your brain wants this to be easy, but the results are still barely visible. By month 6, you're only at $3,000, and your willpower is depleting. By month 12, you're at $6,000, and your friends are posting vacation photos from Bali while you're eating meal prep chicken for the 4th day in a row. This is where most people break. But here's what they don't understand. Once you build that habit over those brutal 20 months, your brain has fundamentally rewired itself. Going from 10,000 to 110,000 uses the exact same neural pathways you already built. The habit is locked in. It's like learning to drive. Those first few weeks are terrifying. You're consciously thinking about every tiny movement. But once the skill is ingrained, you can drive while having a conversation, drinking coffee, and changing the radio station. Your subconscious handles it. The same thing happens with wealth-building habits, but you have to survive those first 20 months to get there. Barrier 1, the identity shift. Let me tell you something that most financial advisors won't tell you because it doesn't involve selling you products. The hardest part of saving your first $10,000 has nothing to do with money. It has everything to do with identity. Right now, you probably see yourself as a certain type of person. Maybe you're someone who's bad with money. Maybe you're someone who enjoys life and doesn't want to be a penny pincher. Maybe you're someone who had a rough start and never learned about finance. Whatever story you're telling yourself, that identity is keeping you broke. Psychology research from Stanford shows that people will consistently behave in ways that align with their self-concept, even when that behavior is objectively harmful to them. If you see yourself as not a money person, your brain will actively sabotage your attempts to save money because saving money conflicts with your identity. This is why lottery winners often end up broke within a few years. Their bank account changed, but their identity didn't. They still saw themselves as working-class people who happened to have money temporarily, so they subconsciously destroyed that wealth to return to an identity that felt comfortable. Saving your first $10,000 requires you to undergo a complete identity transformation. You must become someone who values future security over present pleasure, makes decisions based on data rather than emotion, can delay gratification for meaningful periods of time, sees money as a tool rather than a scorecard, prioritizes building assets over accumulating liabilities. This identity shift is painful. It feels like becoming a different person because that's exactly what it is. But here's the beautiful part. Once you've completed that transformation once, you don't have to do it again. Going from 10,000 to 110,000 doesn't require another identity shift. You already are that person. You've already proven to yourself that you're someone who builds wealth. That's why the second 100,000 is easier. Not because the math changed, because you changed. Barrier 2, the opportunity cost illusion. And this is probably costing you more money than any other single factor. Here's how it works. When you have $0 saved, every dollar you set aside feels like a massive sacrifice. That $500 you're investing could have been a weekend trip, could have been new clothes, could have been concert tickets. Your brain is screaming at you about all the experiences you're missing out on right now. But here's what your brain doesn't naturally calculate: the future opportunity cost of not investing. A study published in the Journal of Consumer Research found that humans are neurologically wired to weight immediate rewards 2.5 times more heavily than delayed rewards. This is called hyperbolic discounting, and it's why that $500 vacation feels more valuable than $5,000 in your investment account 5 years from now, even though the $5,000 is objectively 10 times more valuable. When you're at zero, the opportunity cost of saving feels enormous because you're comparing present pleasure to abstract future security. But once you have $10,000 saved, something fascinating happens in your psychology. That $500 monthly investment starts feeling less like a sacrifice and more like feeding something that's already alive and growing. You're not giving up a vacation anymore, you're accelerating toward financial independence. The frame completely shifts. Psychology professors at UCLA found that people who successfully build wealth experience what they call momentum-based motivation. Once they see their net worth increasing, they become intrinsically motivated to keep it growing. The process itself becomes rewarding, not just the end goal. But you can't experience momentum until you have something moving. That's why the first $10,000 is so hard. You're pushing a boulder uphill with pure willpower. after $10,000, momentum starts helping you. By the way, if you're watching this and you think, that's all great, but I need more content and ideas for how to actually save the money and invest it, then check out my completely free newsletter where I break down one wealth building strategy every single week. No fluff, no trying to sell you courses, just actionable insights that you can implement immediately. The link is in the description below. It takes 10 seconds to sign up, and if you don't find it valuable, you can unsubscribe anytime. But I promise you, if you're serious about building wealth, this newsletter is going to be your unfair advantage. All right, let's get back to it. From 10K to 50K, learning to trust the process. Once you cross that $10,000 threshold, you enter what I call the trust building phase. Let me show you exactly what happens month by month. If you continue saving $500 monthly with 10% annual returns, here's your trajectory. Month 20, $10,000. You've been doing this for nearly 2 years. Month 30, $16,500. 10 months later, you added $6,500 to your net worth. Month 40, $24,000. Another 10 months, you added $7,500. Month 50, $32,500. You added $8,500 this time. Month 60, $42,000. You just added $9,500 in 10 months. Do you see what's happening? In each subsequent 10-month period, you're adding more wealth than the previous period, even though you're contributing the exact same amount of money. Between months 20 and 30, you added $6,500. Between months 50 and 60, you added $9,500. That's 46% more wealth accumulated in the same time frame doing the exact same behavior. This is compound interest starting to flex its muscles. But here's what's really happening psychologically during this phase. You're learning to trust the process. Every month, you're watching your investment account grow, not just from your contributions, but from market returns. You start checking your balance and seeing it increase even on weeks when you didn't contribute anything. Your money is working while you sleep, while you're at work, while you're spending time with family. This is when people start to get it at a visceral level. It's no longer theoretical. They can see compound interest working in their account. According to data from Fidelity, once an investor crosses the $25,000 threshold, their likelihood of abandoning their investment strategy drops to just 7%. Why? Because they've seen enough growth to trust that the system works. From 50K to 100K, the momentum takes over. This is where things get absolutely wild. Continuing that same trajectory with $500 monthly contributions. Month 60, $42,000. Month 70, $52,000. Added $10,000. Month 80, $63,000. Added $11,000. Month 90, $75,000. Added $12,000. Month 100, $88,000. Added $13,000. Month 106, $100,000. It took you 20 months to save your first $10,000. It took you 86 months to go from $10,000 to $100,000. But here's the crazy part. It only took you 46 months to go from $50,000 to $100,000. Same monthly contribution, same investment strategy, but you accumulated the second $50,000 almost twice as fast as the first $50,000. At this point, your annual investment returns are likely exceeding your annual contributions. If you have $100,000 and it grows 10% that year, you made $10,000, but you only contributed $6,000. Your money is now doing more work than you are. This is what wealth builders understand and what broke people never figure out. You're not trying to save your way to wealth. You're trying to save enough money that compound interest can take over and do the heavy lifting for you. The exponential reality check, let me give you a reality check that will blow your mind. Starting from $100,000, still contributing that same $500 monthly, you'll hit $200,000 in about 7 years. You'll hit $300,000 in about 5 more years. You'll hit $500,000 in about 4 more years. You'll hit $1 million in about 7 more years. It took you 8.8 years to go from $0 to $100,000. It takes you about 7 years to go from $100,000 to $200,000. then about 5 years to add the next 100,000, then about 4 years, then each subsequent 100,000 keeps getting faster and faster. Eventually, your portfolio is growing by $100,000 or more every single year without you adding a penny beyond your regular contributions. This is what exponential growth actually looks like in practice, and this is why that first $10,000 is so critical. It's not just $10,000. It's the foundation upon which your entire financial future is built. Phase 1, getting to $10,000, months 1 to 20. Let me give you the actual tactical roadmap for surviving this brutal first phase. Step 1, automate everything. The number one reason people fail to save their first $10,000 is they rely on willpower. Willpower is finite. It depletes throughout the day. By the time you get home from work, you have no willpower left to transfer money to savings. Here's what you do instead. The day after your paycheck hits, have an automatic transfer set up for your target savings amount. I don't care if it's $100, $500, or $1,000. Make it automatic so you never see that money in your checking account. What you don't see, you can't spend. According to research from behavioral economists, people who automate their savings are 5 times more likely to reach their goals than people who manually transfer money when they remember or have extra. Step 2, create the gap. Most people try to save what's left over at the end of the month. There's never anything left over. Instead, you need to create a gap between your income and expenses, intentionally. Look at your last 3 months of spending. Find 3 categories where you can cut 20% without dramatically impacting your quality of life. For most people, this is food, entertainment, and subscriptions. You're not cutting these to zero, you're optimizing. Eating out 4 times a week becomes 3 times. Your $300 grocery bill becomes $240. Your 8 streaming services become 5. These small cuts add up fast. A 20% reduction across 3 spending categories for someone spending $3,000 monthly creates a $180 gap. That's $2,160 per year you just found. Step 3, the micro-milestone strategy. This is crucial for maintaining motivation. Don't just focus on $10,000 as your goal. That's so far away, it might as well be on Mars. Break it into micro-milestones. $1,000, your first emergency buffer. $2,500, 1 month of expenses covered. $5,000, you're halfway there. Celebrate this. $7,500, the momentum is building. $10,000, foundation complete. Psychology research shows that people who set and achieve small goals release dopamine, which reinforces the behavior. Every time you hit a micro milestone, your brain rewards you, making it easier to push toward the next one. Step 4, the anti-lifestyle inflation pact. Here's a promise you need to make to yourself. For the next 20 months, you will not increase your lifestyle expenses. No upgraded apartment, no car payment, no new expensive hobbies. You can enjoy life, you can go out with friends, but you're not expanding your fixed expenses until you hit that $10,000 mark. This is temporary discomfort for permanent gain. Those 20 months will pass whether you save the money or not. Choose to make them count. Phase 2, 10K to 100K, the trust-building phase. Once you hit 10K, the game completely changes, but most people don't realize they need to change their strategy too. Increase your contribution rate. Every time you get a raise, promotion, or bonus, increase your automatic investment by at least 50% of that increase. Got a $3,000 raise? Increase your monthly investment by $125. You weren't living on that extra money before, so you won't miss it, but compound interest absolutely will put it to work. According to Vanguard's How America Saves report, investors who increase their contribution rate by just 1% annually end up with 45% more wealth at retirement compared to those who keep a flat contribution rate. Learn to ignore short-term volatility. Between 10K and 100K, you're going to experience your first real market downturn. Your account will lose value, maybe 10%, maybe 20%, possibly even 30% if we hit a major recession. This is where weak hands fold. They see their $50,000 account drop to $40,000 and panic sell, locking in losses. Strong hands understand something counterintuitive. Market downturns help you when you're in accumulation mode.
When prices drop, your $500 contribution buys more shares. When the market recovers, and it always has historically, those extra shares become incredibly valuable. The S&P 500 has survived 2 world wars, a Great Depression, multiple recessions, terrorism, pandemics, and political chaos. It's still up over 10% annually over the long term. Trust the data, not your emotions. Optimize your tax strategy. Once you're consistently investing, tax efficiency becomes crucial. Prioritize in this order: 401k up to employer match, free money. Max out Roth IRA, $7,000 annually as of 2024. Max out HSA if you have a high deductible health plan. Go back and max 401k, $23,000 annually as of 2024. Taxable brokerage account for anything beyond that. By optimizing your tax strategy, you're essentially getting a guaranteed return equal to your tax rate. If you're in the 22% tax bracket, every dollar you contribute to traditional retirement accounts earns 22% immediately through tax savings. Now, everything we're talking about here requires consistency, and consistency requires tracking and reflection. That's exactly why I created my Story of Growth journal. Listen, wealth building isn't just about the money. It's about becoming the type of person who builds wealth. And that requires daily discipline, clear goals, and consistent progress tracking. This journal is designed to help you build lasting habits and track your progress towards self-improvement in every area of your life. Whether you're working on your finances, your health, your career, your relationships, this journal provides a structured approach to make sure small daily actions compound into massive long-term results. Think about it. If you can't maintain consistency with a simple daily journal, how are you going to maintain consistency with monthly investments over decades? The link to grab my Story of Growth is in the description. This journal has literally changed how I approach personal development, and I'm confident it'll do the same for you. Don't wait to start documenting your journey. Your future self will thank you. Look, here's the bottom line that nobody wants to hear. Your first $10,000 is hard because it's supposed to be hard. You're building something from nothing. You're developing habits that don't exist yet. You're fighting against your own psychology, your social conditioning, and the entire consumer economy that wants you to spend every dollar you earn. But here's what makes it worth it. Once you cross that $10,000 threshold, you've proven something to yourself that can never be taken away. You've proven that you're someone who can delay gratification, someone who can stick to a plan even when it's uncomfortable, someone who can build wealth through discipline and consistency. And once you've proven that to yourself, the next $100,000 isn't just mathematically easier because of compound interest, it's psychologically easier because you already know you can do hard things. The people who build life-changing wealth aren't smarter than you, they're not luckier than you, they just understood this principle earlier. The first $10,000 is the hardest money you'll ever save, and it's also the most important. Because that $10,000 isn't just money, it's proof. It's momentum. It's the foundation upon which everything else is built. So if you're currently at zero, staring up at that $10,000 mountain thinking it's impossible, I want you to remember something. Every single person with $100,000 or $1 million or $10 million in their investment account started exactly where you are right now. The only difference between you and them is that they started, and they didn't quit. 20 months. That's all that stands between you and your financial foundation. 20 months that are going to pass whether you save that money or not. Make them count. If this video shifted your perspective on money, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button and share it with someone who needs to hear it. The YouTube algorithm rewards videos that get shared, and the more people we can reach with this message, the more lives we can change. Drop a comment below and let me know. What's your current savings milestone and what's the biggest obstacle standing in your way? I read every single comment and I'll do my best to give you personalized advice. Remember, your first $10,000 is hard, but impossible? Not even close. Now stop watching YouTube and go automate that first investment. Your future millionaire self is counting on you.